All right, so on this big model here, what we see, we have multiple views of our uterus attached to the ovary that you can see here. Also the fallopian tubes. Remember, the tube isn't actually attached to the ovary itself. So we've got multiple views of that, essentially. We also have two views of our ovaries right here and all of the activity that would be going on inside of the ovary itself. So I'm going to explain it from this center point here, because these are the things that would actually be occurring in these ovaries. As you can see, this is labeled 7, 14, 21, 28. So we're looking at a 28-day menstrual cycle. The primary follicles that you see right here, you can tell that they're primary because they already have some of these cells that are surrounding them. And again, under the influence of FSH, these follicles will grow and the cells will also grow, expand, develop, and start secreting that estrogen. So as we have follicular growth and development, as we go through our cycle, ultimately what we want to do is we want to get to a state where we have a follicle that is well developed, well grown, lots of thecal and granulosa cells on the exterior, so that that can secrete the estrogen. And inside, we're obviously also going through meiosis during this process of turning this from a primary oocyte to a secondary oocyte. About day 14, you will have an LH peak, and that LH peak that comes from the anterior pituitary will cause the secondary oocyte to ovulate out of the follicle. As you can see, this is leaving the follicle, and it's surrounded by the corona radiata. The corona radiata is a bundle of cells that acts as a protective layer towards the secondary oocyte as it attempts to find its way into the fimbria of the fallopian tube. So it will leave this ovary, the secondary oocyte will, and it will come out into the pelvic cavity to hopefully be picked up by the fimbria. The corona radiata will go along with it. Inside of the ovary still, this came out, but the follicle is still in, so the follicle itself will transition into the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum will help secrete the progesterone during the luteal phase of the ovarian cycle. And then if there is no baby, no implantation, this corpus luteum will transition over into corpus albicans, which is scar tissue. The menstrual cycle will then ensue, in which case the functional layer of the endometrium is going to be shed out of the uterus, and then it will come out of the vagina. So it's not the vagina itself that's bleeding. The vagina would continue if there was a continuation here on the model. The vagina is not bleeding. It is the uterus that is shedding its endometrial functional layer that is now coming out of the vagina. So don't get those two confused or mixed up, because you want to make sure that you understand the vagina is just the passageway of the canal for the menstrual blood if there is not a successful implantation or pregnancy.